Today on an all-new Dr. Phil. They've been in love.
I truly love her in every sense.
Since they were 7.
I never thought I'd be with Michael in this way.
But here's the thing.
Angie and Michael are first cousins.
You can't have sexual relations with your first cousin in the state of Utah.
Let's not get too self-righteous about what you're not doing in Utah.
And they just got married.
They've announced it on Facebook, half naked, tongues down each other's throat.
I'm sorry this offends you so much.
You're not, though.
You get so much, like, gut feelings
It's
about
disgusting. This is my family.
Kathy might be jealous because she likes Michael.
No.
Today's going to be a changing day in your life. You've never had anybody working harder to bring you to the threshold of change than right now. Well, Angie and Michael say that their love story began when they were just 7 years old. Holding hands, professing their love for one another, making rings, even sneaking off together at family parties to share a kiss and a hug. But like most young love, Angie and Michael lost touch. Both went off to college, got married, and moved on with their lives. But this love story doesn't end there, because just 3 months ago, after nearly 20 years apart, with both of them single again, they rekindled their love. So, what's the catch? Well, Angie and Michael are first cousins. They are related by blood, and their controversial union made headlines because they are petitioning for their state to allow them to marry. So, my question for you guys, honestly, how many of you think it's okay for first cousins to get married and start a family? If you think that's okay, raise your hand. Now, how many of you don't think that's okay? Raise your hand. Okay. Well, I'm curious why you think it's not okay. What's your name?
Kayla.
Okay, Kayla, why do you think it's not okay?
Because it's incest.
And, well, there is that. Okay, but what about that? What about that is not okay? They're first cousins. They're not like brother and sister.
Well, that's my cousin, and then, like, it would be like her brother, and I think that's just really weird.
You just think it's really weird.
That's not okay.
And it's just not okay morally, or it's not okay genetically, or what?
It's not okay in any way.
All right, gotcha. All right, who else? Okay, stand up.
Well, the children...
What's your name?
Helga. You don't marry a first cousin. I had a first cousin in Germany, and he said he was in love with me.
Right.
And, of course, nothing happened.
Yeah.
I moved away.
Did you ever kiss him?
No.
Just checking.
Thank you.
Okay, so Michael and Angie say being cousins makes their relationship even stronger. Take a look.
A Utah couple who are also first cousins has crossed state lines into Colorado to get married.
Angie's my first love. She was my first kiss. And she's the first person I've experienced any genuine, real romantic feelings for.
I was always drawn to him.
When I look at her face, I get this type of spiritual connection. In fact, sometimes I'll just stare at her.
There's a magnetism between us. He's a part of me. He's my favorite cousin.
My mother and her father are brother and sister. I've known Angie my whole life, and I've known the family my whole life. Since we're cousins, we have this deeper sense of familiarity that you wouldn't achieve with someone else. I don't have those type of reservations that I would with meeting a new woman. I trust her, I know her mind, I know her heart.
You look so cute, and I look so weird.
I started having feelings for Michael in second grade. It just felt really natural to want to be with him.
We snuck off to kiss, and I remember that she was the first person I remember really falling in love with.
After fourth grade, we were at a family reunion, and we were holding hands, staring into each other's eyes, and looking at him felt like I was looking at my own soul shining back at me with all this love and radiance and just the glory of the sun smiling at me, and we said, we love each other.
I stopped her mother in the hallway, looked her in the eye, and said, I'm gonna marry Angie. Then when we were 10, we got caught kissing by one of our cousins.
My mother found out, and I got in trouble. From then on, we felt like we were kept apart. Now that we're adults and single, it's been a dream come true. I never thought I'd be able to be with Michael in this way.
It is a real love story. I truly love her in every sense.
Usually you wouldn't think of two first cousins being in love, but that's what's happening between us.
Okay, Michael, Angie, it's good to meet both of you.
Thank you very much.
And you guys have been listening so far, so you know the general consensus among this audience, and you know the general consensus among the population is that it's unnatural for first cousins to marry. I mean, you know that, right?
Sure, there's something there, a little taboo there, a little stigma attached to that.
Right.
But that's a Western culture thing.
Absolutely.
For sure. Right, and that's true. This is a culture-specific thing because in many cultures, West Africa, India, different parts of the world, there are parts of the world where it's actually preferred that you marry within the bloodline. But you don't live there, you live here.
Correct. We live here. We live in the United States of America.
Yeah, and in Western culture, it is in most states against the law.
It's against the law in all states but 19, so almost half.
Yeah, well, there are some with age restrictions. There are some where it's just straight out outlawed. So we have a list, so we'll go over that in a minute. You guys say this started when you were 7, 8 years old, correct?
Yeah. Correct.
And you felt like you were each other's soulmates at that time. Okay, but yet you both went off and got married to someone else.
I think God works in mysterious ways, your higher power, however you want to phrase it. And we are fated to be together. You can see that that's clearly happening, but not maybe at that time.
We were in different states for a long time. I was in Utah and he was in Texas. So there was no way for us to get together and even discover that our feelings were the same our whole lives.
You two were actually caught kissing at like a family reunion, right?
We got caught kissing a couple times. And even once I stopped her mother, my aunt, and she said, no, you can't, I'm sorry, but you could be friends. And I was just completely dejected and left like, that doesn't make any sense. You just dashed my hopes and dreams right there, but I had the last laugh.
All right, so, and you say that this makes complete sense to you guys because you really know each other, needs and wants and desires and all, more than a stranger that you might meet, as opposed to somebody that you've known very well since you were 6, 7 years old.
Absolutely.
Our particular family is a large family, and they're mostly conservative, religious, and we don't fit that mold. When you don't fit in with your family, it's a huge loss and it hurts. They're the people that are supposed to be there for you your whole life. And I have Michael, and he gives me that strength. Thank you so much.
Don't want to ruin the lipstick.
Yeah. I trust him. You know, I've known him since I was a kid.
I've got 3 sisters that I've known all my life. And I know them very, very well. But that, to me, that's not the same.
It's not the same.
As a romantic relationship. And I'm wondering, is this an act of rebellion or an act of love? Because you say your family's one way, you're another. And there's a difference between running towards something versus running away from something.
I feel like we're running towards each other, but we're also running towards our family. We're coming back to the family and saying, this is what's going on between us. We do love each other. This is true love, and it's unusual, it's uncommon, it's unconventional, but it really is what's going on. And we've offered friendship to our family, talk to us, ask us questions, you know, whatever. I understand this is weird. You might feel really strange about this, but we're not running away from the family. And we aren't brother and sister. I have a brother and a sister, and I've never had any kind of romantic feelings or inclinations towards them.
Well, Angie and Michael recently fled Utah and got married in Colorado. But now they are back in their home state. Their relationship could land them behind bars. We'll talk about that after the break.
This is our marriage license from Colorado.
We're sitting there with the clerk, and she's typing up the marriage license. And she says, "Are you blood related?" We look at each other, and she says, "Yes."
And she stopped and kind of stared, and we said, "Well, we're first cousins. That's why we're here, coming from Utah." And she just said, "You're kidding me."
Even during the 7 years I was married, I always would pine for Angie. And I would go online and I'd check out her profile pictures, and I would just stare at them before I would have to turn away, and I just couldn't look at it anymore. It was just too painful. It was like looking at your true love, the woman you're supposed to be with, knowing that you can't have this person. It was torture. One time, we went to visit each other. I brought my wife, she brought her ex-husband, and I just remember looking at this guy, and the first thought that came to my mind is, who is this clown? What is he doing here? She's not with the right person. I'm looking at my ex-wife, and what am I doing?
Well, illegal, incestuous, and immoral. First cousins, Angie and Michael, say no laws or opinions can keep them apart. And those are some of the adjectives that are used in describing these kind of relationships in different states. Now, in fact, just 3 weeks ago, Angie and Michael left the state of Utah, tied the knot in Colorado. Take a look.
After we reconnected, we started messaging each other.
I was using love emojis, heart emojis, and he was saying, "I love you."
There was a lot of innuendo there, like, let's go to the hot tub, I can show you my house, no one will be there.
I asked if he was willing to kiss, and he said yes. I said, "With tongue?" And he said yes, and so I was just elated. I couldn't believe that I was going to get the chance to kiss him.
We came over to her apartment, and we kissed for at least 3 hours. It ended up escalating to a point where I can't really say, because I can't incriminate myself. The state that I live in, Utah, it's actually illegal to have any kind of sexual relations with your first cousin.
I asked him if he would marry me, and he said, "In a heartbeat."
There are 19 states in which marrying your cousin is legal. Utah is not one of them.
A Utah couple who are also first cousins has crossed state lines into Colorado to get married.
We're sitting there with the clerk, and she's typing up the marriage license. And she says, "Are you blood related?" We look at each other, and she says, "Yes."
And she stopped and kind of stared, and we said, "Well, we're first cousins. That's why we're here, coming from Utah." And she just said, "You're kidding me." This is our marriage license from Colorado.
Marriage certificate. Even on the marriage license, it says blood related, yes. Relationship, first cousins.
Bam!
There we go.
We tied the knot.
We tied the knot. The knot is tied. We're crazy.
There was no sense of this is wrong. It felt right, and it felt like it needed to happen.
Being prosecuted and potentially arrested, that is a real concern, but I don't care. There's not a force great enough in this universe to keep me from Angie.
Okay, so you're married in Colorado.
That's correct.
But you are residing in Utah, and you cannot get married in Utah because that's against the law there, correct?
Yes.
Does Utah recognize the Colorado marriage?
No.
So if you're cohabiting and having sexual relations in Utah, is that against the law in Utah?
It is.
Okay. So why are you going so public with all of this?
The only public thing that we did at the beginning, at the outset, was just put up the petition. That's all we did, was just a petition to get the law changed. Some local news person thought that this was newsworthy and posted it. And from that on, and that point on, then it became public.
You did do the petition.
We did do the petition in the legal sense, but not in the, to gain any social recognition or any kind of publicity or any fame.
And you did do the interview when they came out
did,
the house, because you didn't have to do that.
No, you're right. We thought that might aid in the case. We could have.
Yeah.
But in an attempt to try to garner support and get this issue out there, you know, I thought of a similar thing. You know, when they did the hand raising thing, I was like, let's go back in time about 60 years ago. And what if the question was asked, would it be okay to have an interracial marriage? Let's say someone's white, someone's black, and they were to get married, and we said, how do you feel about that? Do you feel okay with that? Well, 60 years ago, the majority of the people would have raised their hands no. But we've evolved. We've learned more about how things work, and we're comfortable with that now. I kept thinking like everyone else, like maybe it's the genetic stuff. Well, no, because it turns out it's the same consequences of a woman giving birth over 40 or at the age of 40. Would anyone say no to that? I don't think so. So what is it really? So I kept digging, and realized that it turned out to have everything to do with immigration. And 50 years from now, we'll realize that that's not a good enough reason to keep ethnic groups from proliferating and growing.
Well, you say it's about immigration, but let's look at the history of the law concerning first cousin marriages. In 1846, Massachusetts Governor George N. Briggs initiated a study of individuals of profound intellectual disability. The implication was that he believed these individuals were a result of incest. In 1858, physician Samuel Merrifield Bemis stated that inbreeding does lead to physical and mental deprivation of the offspring. The 1870s, anthropologist Lewis Henry Morgan found consanguineous marriage increased the vigor of the stock. 1880s, 13 states passed laws against marrying one's cousins, doubled in 1920. The last state to do so was Texas in 2005. So this didn't have anything to do with immigration. It had to do with concern about the genetics and whether or not you increased risk levels for offspring of marriages between blood cousins. Immigration had nothing to do with it. Well, that's not the history. You said that, and you said it real fast, and you said it with authority. Yeah. But no matter how loud you say it, doesn't make it right.
But I can present another study by the Independent UK that was published just recently about what's so wrong with cousins being married that would counter some of that stuff. And basically says in the genetic consequences, it's no greater than a woman giving birth at the age of 40, and this is an actual scientific study. So if I had some time, I could also present some counter arguments to that as well. But those are convincing.
We'll talk about that. I have a world-renowned expert here that's going to address that chapter and verse. We'll be right back.
Tomorrow, many reached out to help her.
I believed my friend was dying.
But then they discovered the truth.
I lied about having muscular dystrophy and cancer. I bought a wheelchair.
She says she's ready to face the people she's betrayed.
You gave me these crocodile tears.
How dare you? I'm just absolutely disgusted.
I didn't want to hurt her.
You either wanted to hurt her or you just didn't care if you did.
That's tomorrow. Then on Tuesday, a serial child kidnapper.
He tied my arms with barbed wire.
Years later, a chilling revelation.
He actually thought about kidnapping her again.
You've never heard that, right?
That's Tuesday.
There is a huge misconception when it comes to the genetic consequences of having children with your first cousin. In fact, they are no greater than a woman giving birth at the age of 40. It jumps from about 2% to 4% for a maximum of maybe 7%, but it's really negligible, not even a full standard deviation in statistical terms, completely overblown. We hear stories all the time of a regular relationship, not cousins, and they have issues with their children. Their children end up being special needs, but nobody's sitting there pointing the finger at them. We are not trying to have children. We are not actively seeking childbirth. But if we do end up doing that, we'll both be the best parents we can be.
Well, actually, people are pointing the finger at them. They're saying that these are high-risk pregnancies and are not recommended in the medical community. First cousins Angie and Michael say if they got pregnant, they would welcome their child with open arms. They say they are sick and tired of misinformation about first cousins having children. Well, Dr. Dana Grayson is a medical doctor, biochemist, and medical researcher who has helped develop treatments and preventions in hematology, oncology, infectious disease, biodefense, nephrology, cardiology, and neurology. Her medical research has been published in the world's most prestigious scientific journals. And so Dr. Dana Grayson, weigh in on this, if you will. The comment here is, this is no greater risk than a 40-year-old having a pregnancy, which is increased risk. He said it's no different than that. That's just simply not true, is it?
Well, it's not true. It's cherry-picking the data. So if you only look at the time of birth for congenital anomalies, there is similar risk. It's slightly increased amongst first cousins compared to women, we call them advanced maternal age, so women over the age of 40. But also understand that just like your genes program what ends up happening to you. That's why my hair is curly, why Dr. Phil's hair is, well, Dr. Phil's hair.
That was uncalled for.
Cheap shot, right?
Super cheap shot.
All right, go ahead.
And so when you look at that, there's additional things you have to think about. It's not just when your child is born. So you have an increased risk of miscarriage, an increased risk of having a stillborn, an increased risk of early childhood death, increased risk of these congenital anomalies. But now let's say you potentially have a healthy baby. You have a lifetime risk of increased risk for everything that's genetic. Everyone carries around bad genes, right? If you meet Joe Schmo at a church or wherever you meet Joe Schmo and you get married and you have children, the chances are that your bad genes are not the same. But you share an aunt and an uncle. You share common relatives. So the chances that your bad genes are similar are so much higher than if you met somebody random. And those are things that now are beginning to be discovered and understood.
In these type marriages, stillbirths increase 80.6%. Child deaths after birth increase 80%. Miscarriages, 67%. Congenital anomalies, 6.1%, where non-consanguineous marriages, 2.4%. And when you look at the congenital anomalies, we're talking about nervous system defects, congenital heart disease, oral facial clefts, digestive abdominal wall, urinary, genital, limb, and musculoskeletal abnormalities, genetic diseases and blood disorders like hemophilia, 3 times more likely for mood disorders and 2 times more likely for psychotic disorders. So these are increased risk substantially. You're just simply wrong.
I don't know of anyone born from cousins who has any problems.
What you're doing is citing anecdotal information compared to really scientific information that has a big enough sample size to really give you a database that you can rely on.
What we found was, articles online saying that the risks were a couple % higher for birth defects.
Well, before you listen to Dr. Google, you have to look and see. You have to look and see what agency published that information. If you go back and see what published that, and if it's Cousins or Us, then you've got to take it.
It's true. Cousins or Us.
No, you've got to take it with a grain of salt.
Sure. But I don't think there's too many Cousins or Us out there publishing false information on Google.
Well, it's not false information, but it could be cherry-picked information, and that's the question.
Right. This woman right here, imagine in your mind that you'd met someone that you were head over heels in love with, and they just so happened to be your cousin, and you knew that if you weren't with this person, you would always be unhappy, you would never have the connection that you sought after, you'd never have that deep-level spiritual thing that every single one of us in here craves. And you're telling me you wouldn't do it? Well, I don't know. I'm going to do it. I'm going to take the risk, and I'm going to be happy that I did it because I get to be with the woman I love, and that's just that.
Thank you.
But Mitch, well, there is another first cousin in this story, but she does not support Angie and Michael's relationship. We'll add her to the conversation after the break, and then we'll talk about some of the legalities of this. We'll be right back.
Their relationship is very embarrassing to me and some of the family. They're going around on Facebook flaunting their incestuous relationship. I don't know why they're not in jail already.
There are many of those people out there who just feel this need to besmirch our good name.
Our relationship caught the attention of people and generated a lot of strong feelings.
We get just nasty, vitriolic responses about this is gross, you're wrong, you're inbred, think of the kids. Some of the names we get called are hillbilly, country bumpkin.
We had a full effect love shield going on for them haters.
We really take it in stride because we know that's not true. It kind of rolls off our backs like water off a duck. So I'm not concerned with it. I think in the end, ultimately, love is going to win out.
Well, since their controversial marriage became public, first cousins Michael and Angie say they have been met with hateful comments and opinions from their detractors. First cousin Kathy stands by her position that their relationship is disgusting, immoral, and embarrassing to the whole family.
Angie and Michael's relationship is gross. Their relationship is very embarrassing to me and some of the family.
Michael and I are first cousins, And we've always known our whole lives that we love each other and we have a very special connection.
It stresses me out because they're going around on Facebook flaunting their incestuous relationship for the whole world to see.
We're crazy. I'm crazy for you.
Their marriage, and more importantly, their relationship, is breaking the law. I don't know why they're not in jail already. Angie and Michael are so full of themselves, it makes me sick. Angie and Michael have made this into a big public spectacle. They're pretty much shoving their relationship in everyone's face, and they don't care how it makes them feel. They like to be the center of attention, and they want to be in the limelight. Their point is to try to be famous. Seeing tongues in each other's throats is really not what people want to see on Facebook, for anyone, let alone cousins. I was messaged by Michael saying that I had a lot of hate in my heart. When he told me that, I was like, bitch, please, don't push me. When I'm on stage with them, I just really hope they don't try to touch me or hug me, because I am so disgusted with their relationship and what they're doing.
Okay, Kathy, thank you for being here.
Yes, sir.
What is it about this that bothers you so much?
Pretty much everything. I honestly don't even like talking about it a lot because it just sickens me, but the moral aspect,
And you think this is a very narcissistic thing for them? You think they're wanting to be famous?
If they wanted to be quiet about it, they wouldn't have announced it on Facebook, half naked, on the bed, tongues down each other's throat for the whole family.
Michael had his shirt off.
I'm sorry that this offends you so much.
You're not, though. You're not.
Okay, listen.
If you were sorry, okay, we have a family Facebook page.
Yeah.
They're posting this on that page.
That was the only photograph we had, so we posted that one. We knew that eventually this was going to be found out, so we wanted to let people know, warm up to the idea. And third, if we weren't cousins, what about that photograph is particularly disgusting? Nothing? If it's just a regular couple?
Related or not, I don't want to see people like that.
Well, okay.
Okay.
Fair enough. That's your opinion. That's cool.
It's everyone's opinion, apparently.
Next, Michael and Angie believe that their cousin Kathy's anger may stem from jealousy, wishing she was the one with Michael.
Just a theory we've tossed around. We've tossed around some theories.
No!
You're so emotional about this. You get so much gut feelings about it.
Hold on.
Family.
Hold on.
Hey, well,
hold on.
I'm not perfect.
Obviously.
Well, the theory is maybe you wanted to be the one being kissed in that picture, is the theory. I think you disagree with that. And there are also some theories about what impact this has on the children. I'm going to add an expert about that after the break as well. We'll be right back.
Kathy's been vocal from the very beginning against us. We're not sure why.
Our #1 detractor. She tells us it's inappropriate and she doesn't want to see it.
I think Kathy might be jealous because she likes Michael.
Tomorrow on an all-new Dr. Phil.
I believed my friend was dying.
I lied about having cancer.
How dare you?
I didn't want to hurt her.
You either wanted to hurt her or just didn't care if you did.
That's tomorrow.
We have a first cousin. Her name is Kathy, and she has been our #1 detractor.
Kathy's been vocal from the very beginning against us. We're not sure why.
She tells us it's inappropriate. She doesn't understand. She doesn't support this. She'll never support this. She'll never be on board with this, and she doesn't want to see it.
I think Kathy might be jealous because she likes Michael. Kathy has had a string of failed relationships.
Kathy hasn't had that great of luck when it comes to love. She sees two people genuinely happy, in love, and she gets triggered by that and would like to rain on our parade.
I just wish that she would let us live our lives.
People are always going to hate on you for doing something right or wrong. Doesn't matter. I'm still going to do what I do.
And how have your children reacted to this?
My youngest was fine. He kind of knew something was going on, and he was cool about it. But my older two, they're teenagers, they were crying, they were angry. They said, "Why are you so weird? This is wrong." And they've actually... My kids have come around. My kids have come around, and my oldest signed our petition, and I was pretty impressed by that.
Well, joining us now is Dr. Charles Sophie. He is board certified in 3 clinical specialties: adult psychiatry, child and adolescent psychiatry, and family practice, as well as being the medical director for the Department of Child and Family Services here in Los Angeles, which is the largest agency in the country. Dr. Sophie, do you have concerns here?
Oh, like I can't even begin to tell you. I can't tell if I'm more upset and disturbed that they enjoy this or that they're damaging their children.
Right, and damaging their children in what way?
Well, they're breaking a law, and you know you're openly breaking a law, and you're setting that example. That's just even the start of child abuse.
Well,
There's other deeper issues. It's child abuse. Because you have to live by the law. We should live by the law. You obviously don't want to do that.
No, we're trying to petition to get the law changed.
Okay, but there's a law, and you're breaking it, and your children see it.
We haven't admitted to any sex in the state of Utah.
I understand. It's still incest.
It's considered incest in Utah.
That's what I mean. And you live there with your children.
Yeah.
And what if we move?
Well, then move. And then
we might.
Okay.
Move. We might.
They're going to lynch us. Get out of here.
Get out of here.
Yeah.
That's okay. People can be angry. It's cool. I understand. We're not, you know.
You like this.
I wouldn't say I like it.
Yeah, you do.
Well,
or you wouldn't have put that picture up.
I'll answer that by saying I'm not ashamed of it.
We're not breaking the law.
In Utah.
No. How is it breaking the law?
He'll tell you.
How?
Well,
being married in Colorado does not mean we're breaking the law in Utah.
No, it really doesn't. It just means let's clarify. You can't get married to your first cousin in the state of Utah. And you can't have any sexual relations with your first cousin in the state of Utah. Okay?
We don't recognize out-of-state marriages, but we're not having a wedding in Utah. We're not legally married in Utah. There's nothing illegal happening. Does that make sense?
Okay, now hold on a minute. Now, I said I was not going to press this out of respect, but now don't just turn around and insult my intelligence. Let's not get too self-righteous about what you're not doing in Utah.
Yeah.
Right.
Let's just leave it alone, okay?
We'll leave it alone.
What you're saying is they are modeling felonious behavior.
Correct.
Has anything they've said today changed the minds of people here? Would you sign the petition? We'll find out after the break. Michael and Angie say they are dedicated to overturning what they claim is an outdated law when it comes to their first cousin marriage.
It's illegal for us to get married.
So we need your help.
Every single signature counts for us.
We are trying to change the law.
We would just like to welcome you to the Michael and Angie Foundation.
Now Angie and Michael have this foundation. I don't think having sex with your cousin and marrying them is not qualifications to have a foundation.
This is a community that we're creating to help each other.
I've been to their foundation page, and all that's on there is pictures of them and videos of them flaunting their incestuous relationship.
We're down here at Liberty Park in Salt Lake. We've got our booth set up. We're here just trying to get signatures. We created a petition online. We're hoping that we can take these signatures, present them to a lawmaker, and show that we have support.
We have over 650 signatures, 200 of which are from active Utah residents, and 150 are known registered voters.
They keep bringing up this stupid petition, and nobody really cares.
The eventual goal would be to have the incest laws changed so that sex between your first cousin is not illegal. And at the very least, just allow an out-of-state marriage to be recognized. And we're not ashamed of this. The law is outdated. It needs to be changed.
Okay, so what you're wanting is the state to just recognize an out-of-state marriage, even if they don't change their law.
Correct.
And what you're saying is they're modeling criminal behavior here,
right,
which, and you're doing it publicly, which calls for people to react to it.
I wouldn't say that we're openly flaunting being felons. That's why we have our petition. That's why we're contacting lawmakers, because we disagree with this law. We're not going, well, who cares? You know, let's just be against the law.
And when it changes, that'll be great.
Yeah.
But until it does, you're felons.
And you are flaunting it, and you are saying, well, we're going to do whatever we want.
I'm happy.
That's not the point.
But it's the point for me.
Okay, but
and
that's
it's not
selfish.
my business to tell anyone in this room how to behave.
But you have children. That's child abuse.
You're correct. You're right.
It's child abuse. It is child abuse. Unfortunately,
I think
it is.
when you disagree with a law and you work towards changing the law because it affects you and your family,
that's one issue, but you're still doing the act. And so an investigation of your home will identify that as behavior that is
so it's
child
a forensics
abuse.
issue.
Being a mother, kids come first over Michael, over yourself. It's not funny. You are laughing.
Why do you think your teenagers had a hard time with it?
I think it's because it's something that they've never encountered before. And
It's
I think
something they shouldn't have to
They shouldn't
encounter.
have to. That's why there's a law in that state. And you're abusing your child by doing it.
I would say this. I'm just going to be the best stepdad I can be. And if I'm in their life and their lives are better because I'm in it, as opposed to being with a different spouse or a different partner, and I ultimately make their lives better, and I set a better example as a role model, as a man, as a father figure.
Michael, it's a justification for your behavior.
But that's what I plan to do. So in the long run, if that turns out to be the case, and they're better because I'm there, and worse if I'm not, then time will tell, and we'll later on down the road say it was better that Michael was there than had he not been there.
But that's how you justify yourself.
Next, Michael
That's
and
my
Angie
answer to
say they want to know what I think of their relationship and if they're going about it in the right way. I'm going to answer that question after the break. When we started today, I asked the question, was there anybody here that thought it was okay for first cousins to get married? And I think maybe there was one hand maybe that went up, and almost all hands went up when I said if you thought it was not okay. If you've changed your mind, raise your hand. Okay, maybe 5 or 6 have raised their hand. Now, the question that you guys posed to me was what I thought about the relationship. I thought you were going about it the right way or the wrong way. You know, technically, you've not moved in yet, right?
That's correct.
Okay. You've not admitted to having sexual relations in Utah, which
That's
means
also
you're
correct.
commuting a lot.
A lot of gas.
we're newlyweds. What do you
A lot of
expect?
gas.
A lot of drive time to Colorado.
A lot of drive time.
Get
A lot of
on-
GPS.
We're taking advantage of it being legal in California in the last
Yeah.
day and a half.
Keep it
So
to yourself.
I think it is naive and narcissistic to say we are trying to change the law, therefore what we would do that contravenes the law is okay in the interim. That's not the way a prosecutor would see this. That's not the way the Department of Child and Family Services would see this. So I'm just telling you, you ask my opinion. My opinion is protect your children, and to do that, live within the bounds of the law until such a time as you can change it. Okay, we're out of time. I want to thank all of my guests today. A special thanks to Dr. Charles Sophie. A special thanks to Dr. Dina Grayson for being here today and sharing all of your information. If you have questions for me, please go to drphil.com, and don't forget you can follow me on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And don't forget to subscribe to my new podcast, Fill in the Blanks. It's free. All you have to do is just hit the subscribe button. That's PHIL in the blanks, with a new episode every Tuesday. And don't miss my new podcast series, Analysis of Murder by Dr. Phil. My first installment, called The Killer Thorn of Gypsy Rose. We'll see you next time. Thank you. Shortly after leaving the stage, Michael and Angie proudly announced on social media that they are expecting their first child. We'll keep you updated.